I wanna go for a ride. Hop in the music and rock your body. Rock your body.
Hello everybody, my name is Martin. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review of the DR650. So this is a 2023, and it's kind of fitting that I'm doing it here because this is probably where this bike is going to end up really soon. This is a living dinosaur. This bike has been in production, I believe, since 1990. So it's been unchanged, aside from maybe a little bit of pollution control, since 1990. That's pretty incredible that it still exists. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the only dual sport Japanese motorcycle that's still available brand new with a carburetor. There's no electronics whatsoever on this bike. It is just as it was in 1990, unchanged. You know, everything is as basic as it could be. Analog round speedo from the 90s. It's very nostalgic, but I'm kind of surprised that this thing is still in production, because we know the DRZ400 was dropped for 2024, so 25 you got the new DRZ4S, which is fuel injected and ride modes and ABS and all that kind of stuff, all those goodies. I guess to be Euro 5 compliant or whatever it is. I guess Suzuki's still grandfathered in with this bike, so they still have it on the market and must be meeting emissions or something. Something must be going on for it to still exist brand new. I checked on their site, and it is still available for 2025. So just a little review on this. It's a 2023 model. I've got about 14,800, 900 kilometers, so just about 15,000 kilometers on it. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good bike. I haven't had any problems with it. There are a few things from the factory that I will go through, some mods that I've done with the carburetor and emissions and stuff like that to get it running better. But I'll get to that a little bit later. It's a pretty powerful little bike. It's got a good weight to it. I believe it's 366 pounds wet, ready to ride, which is a good amount for the street. It's really good. Off-road, it's very nice actually. It wears all its weight really down low, so it doesn't feel top heavy. It's not that heavy off-road. The seat height is a little bit lower than most other bikes. Like, I have a DRZ 400 and it's got a 37-inch seat height, somewhere in that vicinity, and I believe this is a couple inches lower, so it's a little more manageable off-road. You can reach the ground pretty easily, and you have, you know, that lower center of gravity with that big giant motor sitting down low. It feels good off-road. It holds about 13 liters of fuel, I believe. This is and it's got about 3 liters for reserve in the tank. So I get exactly about 200 kilometers per tank until I hit reserve, and then probably another 60 kilometers on reserve. So total fuel range would be about 260 kilometers, which is enough to enjoy, you know, long trips and all that. You can, it's not too bad. A lot of guys do put aftermarket larger fuel tanks on it, just to extend the range. I actually have a friend, and we both have 650s and DRZ 400s, and so we've done pretty extensive, you know, riding together. Either him on his 650, me on the 400, and we've run these two bikes against each other, and they are just pretty much dead even. There isn't a power advantage to either one. The 400 and 650 seem to have identical power. I believe this is 44 horsepower, so it's a decent amount of power. It just definitely delivers a very satisfying low-end grunt a lot of torque, and on demand virtually any time. It doesn't even make sense to really rev out this motor. It doesn't really, you know, it's not an advantage to just keep revving it, because it just makes the same flat torque curve all the time, which is very nice. It's very satisfying. It's got a nice rumble to it. It's got a nice grunt. You can really hear the intake and the exhaust when you get on it. Has a really nice sound. It's a very simple bike to maintain. It is air cooled and oil cooled, so there is an oil cooler here, and I believe they have some kind of proprietary cooling system where they squirt oil right at the bottom of the piston to help with cooling. And I've never really had it overheat, but I do notice it has no like secondary cooling system like an electric fan or anything like that. So if you are in traffic and it's really hot, or if you're in an off-road situation and it's very hot weather, it does tend to get really hot and even starts running funny. I wonder if there's like some heat soak going into the car, but it gets hot in those traffic situations or off-road. There's not much issues that I had with it. Let's go with the dislikes I have about this bike, and there are two. So the first thing being this seat. This seat is very uncomfortable, and it's not so much its width or hardness, it's the slope. So if you have a look at this seat, it kind of slopes down, and that downward slope is what kind of pivots your hips forward, and sometimes you end up sliding forward on the seat, but it's just an uncomfortable position to sit in. And I've been looking at aftermarket seats, but you know, I was looking at the seat concept seat, but it's an obscene amount of money. I just can't bring myself to buy it. It's about $580 Canadian, so that's a lot for a seat. I think I'll wait till that goes on sale. And the second thing I really dislike about this bike is the shifting. It doesn't shift well in first and second. First and second gear are clunky. You get like a false neutral sometimes between first and second, between second and third, and then third, fourth, and fifth are nice and they shift great. I did notice that I just switched tires not too long ago, and when I had the tire off, I took apart the cush drive, and I remember reading some forum posts about the cush drive being very loose, and there was a massive amount of play in that cush drive. So like if you would hold the wheel and just grab the sprocket and move it back and forth, it would shimmy back and forth at least quarter inch, half an inch. And so when I had that rear wheel off, I was also reading there's some mods people are doing, like putting inner tubes and plastic bottles, like oil bottle shims in the cush drive to tighten it all up, and that's what I ended up doing. And that did actually, I have to report, after probably about 1,500 kilometers, that made the shifting at least 80% better. So I think what was happening was all that play in that rear hub and the drive, when you're under a load and you pull the clutch in to shift, that would just unload, and that would make the output just shimmy back and forth and just not make the shifting really smooth. So that really kind of made it a lot more tolerable. Now, you know, every ride I used to get one or two false shifts, like false neutrals or popping out a second and stuff like that, and little bit of rough engagement, and now that happens probably every 4 or 5, 6 rides. So I have to say that really improved the shifting a lot. So that's something I would recommend doing. As far as mods go, I do have an Acebris or a Cerberus, or however you say it, skid plate and frame guards. So it is a plastic skid plate. I like the plastic because it's not so echoey and resonant like aluminum. And if you do hang up on something, it is a lot more slippery. So if you go over a log or a rock or something like that, I just like plastic skid plates. I'm not sure if they will hold up as good as an aluminum plate, but seems to so far. It's taken a couple hits and it's holding up. And the frame guards just stop your boots here from scuffing up your frame, so those help. Also put these Zeta XC Pro handguards on. Just really like handguards, I did drop this bike off-road and probably saved my lever from breaking there. I also have heated grips, and these are just off of Amazon. And what's nice is this integrated controller. I really like that, because with the Oxford grips, I actually bought a set and there was nowhere to mount that controller, and it's quite large actually. So these work really well, and they were really inexpensive. I think they were $25, and they definitely take the chill out on a cold day, and they work really well. What else did I do? I did a headlight. So these actually, this cowl and that headlight housing seem to be identical to the DRZ400. So on that bike I did switch to a Cyclops LED light, and that's like a motorcycle specific bulb. I've tried Amazon bulbs and they're horrible. The halogen is not bad if you're on an empty road by yourself, but with these modern cars and their bright headlights, it seems to really drown out the halogen. But this is the only H4 bulb, that's the size that it takes, an H4, that I know of, that keeps the low beam on with the high beam. So I'm really pleased with that light. That just lights up the night like daytime, and gives me really good visibility. And so that is definitely an upgrade that I would go through. Also the tires, I did swap out. These are the Shinko 244. I believe they're an 80/20 tire. I went a little wider on the back, so I think stock is 4.5 and this is a 510. So a little more beefier, a little wider tire. I like them. I've run them before. They're good. This is also another mod I did, was this, I believe this is a DRZ 250 tail light, and it's a direct bolt-in. That the factory light is this hideous big square, I don't know what to call it, but it's very ugly. So this is a nice low profile light, very bright. I put an LED bulb in it. I like that modification. And as far as, oh, and also the bars, I also did put these Renthal CR high bends. I believe they're the Ricky Carmichael bend. Little less sweep than stock, a lot more durable, thick wall aluminum, a lot lighter. They're really nice. This is actually the only bike I can comfortably stand on, even compared to the DRZ 400. I guess these foot pegs are a lot lower on this bike in the frame than the 400, because I can't stand on the 400. And just for reference, I'm 6'2". I got a really long inseam, about 35 inches. So no issue flat footing this bike. But I cannot stand on the 400, even with bars with a 2-inch rise. These also are, I think, 2 inches higher than stock and less sweep, so it's a little more comfortable. These foot pegs from the factory are rubber mounted, so I don't really get any buzz at all. I like the foot pegs, but I don't get any buzzing at all in the bars or the foot pegs on this bike. And also the, what was I going to say, there's really not much else mods, but yes, I can stand on this bike very comfortably, so it's not bad. And they do make a 2-inch lowered foot peg, and you have to buy a brake pedal too, because it just won't clear the foot peg there. That might make it even better to stand on. I know my friend has that on his bike, and we swap bikes and I really like it, so that's probably a modification I'll do from the future. The other thing, these bikes are notoriously lean from the factory. So I was having two problems, actually three problems. I'd get a lean surge at cruise, so you'd be just driving about 80 kilometers per hour, steady throttle, and the bike would be surging, like lurching forward and backward, just subtle surging. Also, when you shut off the bike when it was hot, probably about 10 seconds later, you get this big pop out of the exhaust. So another lean indication. I believe that also had to do with the emissions. And also, I had another problem, was when you're in a low speed situation and just letting out the clutch, like let's say doing a U-turn or something like that, at very low RPM, sometimes the bike would just shut off, and that would be right when you're making a turn. So I almost dropped it doing that, because you're expecting the power to be there and there's zero power and it just shuts off. So that was pretty bad. So what I did to resolve that was actually on the other side here, all the emissions stuff was on this side, but there was a valve here that cut off the fuel. Like, I'm not sure if it was a tip over and like a one-way valve, but there was a valve mounted here. There's a whole bunch of hoses, and in the back here there was a big charcoal canister right now where the toolkit is, and this toolkit was located over here with a bunch of bracketry. So what's kind of interesting is originally this toolkit was in this location, but then with all this emission addition to it, this toolkit was relocated here, and the charcoal canister was buried in there. And that charcoal canister and all the hosing, and there was a pair valve that was mounted up here that I guess its purpose is to inject air directly into the exhaust port to meet emissions. And I did fabricate a block-off plate. It's really hard to see in there, but it's right in here. So that block-off plate there just is where the pair valve used to inject the air into the exhaust port. So I did take that out. And then with the carburetor, I shimmed the needle. So I believe it was like a 17 thou washer I put in. So I shimmed the high-speed needle, and also drilled out the idle speed or low-end mixture. There's a little plug there that I guess they don't want you playing with that, but you drill out this little plug and then you have access to the idle mixture or low-end mixture screw. So I did tweak that a little bit, gave it about, I think, a turn open from factory, and then all of those symptoms. So again, the shimming the needle, drilling out the idle screw or low-end fuel mixture, and taking off all the emissions in the pair valve has completely transformed this bike. It's a lot more responsive, a lot smoother. All those like low speed flame outs, surging, the lean pop after you shut it off, everything disappeared, and now the bike runs the way it should. And that is a really good mod. That's probably a must for me. I mean, it was pretty bad to have a surging bike and a flame out bike, you know, at the same time. And you know, there's the oil changes are really simple. You just got one drain plug. I really like bikes with sights on the case. It's really easy to refill with oil. And I do believe this bike, you can lower it. There are two adjustments here. So if you're vertically challenged, you could lower this bike an inch, and you could drop the front forks in the clamp, and you can lower it. It's basically a factory option. And I think then the only thing you would need would be a shorter kickstand. So yeah, it's pretty basic as far as controls go and everything. You got idiot light, which is just turn signal, high beam, and neutral. And again, this analog gauge from the 90s, which is probably unchanged from its predecessor, which I believe was the DR600, which was pre-90, so this would be the predecessor to that. That has remained probably unchanged from that bike. And that's about all I could cover with the bike. I really enjoy it. It's good for long distance trips, like especially if you're going to be sustaining high speed. So if you're, you know, on the highway, this bike will easily cruise all day at 120. The gear ratio is very wide gear ratio, so even at like 90 or 95 kilometers per hour, you could comfortably be in fourth. If you're kind of just holding 90, 95 kilometers per hour and it's flat ground and you don't really have the need to accelerate, you could be in fifth, but you're at the border of lugging it. So if you're going uphill or anything, you'll need to downshift into fourth. So you got that whole fifth gear for 100 plus. So at 120, 125 kilometers per hour, which I don't know would be about 70, 75 miles an hour, it's just humming along. It's happy there all day. There's no buzziness, gobs of torque all the time. Even if you're in the wrong gear, even if you do accidentally lug it, it will just deliver its torque all the time. So haven't had any issues with the bike. It's a good dual sport. for its intention, which the true definition of a dual sport would be on and off road. So, you know, logging trails, gravel roads, and some trails, not hardcore single track technical trails, but it does really well. The suspension is non-adjustable, so the front is just you got what you got. The rear, there is a compression adjustment and then spring preload, but there are a lot of modifications that you can do. People put spacers in the front forks, different springs, and revalve the cartridge. So you could probably customize it to get what you want out of it if that's your intention, to drive it more off-road and you want to really go on some technical trails. The suspension probably wouldn't be up for it. The brakes are good. They're adequate, and a lot of people complain about them that they're inadequate, and I kind of disagree. I have locked up this front wheel in a panic situation at like 70-80 kilometers per hour. It has no problem with it. I think what people attribute back brakes to is having a high pedal effort. So the pedal and the lever effort is high, like you do have to, you know, push it hard, but it will lock up the wheel at any time you want. Actually kind of makes it a little bit easier to modulate the brakes being a higher effort, that I find personally, because there isn't such a sensitive point to where you lock up the wheels, so you could really threshold brake really well with a higher pedal effort. But that's just me and my preference, but maybe some other people might think differently. I haven't had an issue with the brakes or their performance. They work good. They stop me in every situation as fast as I need to. Again, it's just that pedal effort. Other than that, there's not much else to comment. It's just a good old dinosaur dual sport, probably the last of its kind, and I guess they don't really have any competition other than maybe the KLR 650, but I don't really think those are in the same class. I guess people in the US have the Honda XR 650, something to compare that would be a little more comparable, except I would think that's a lot more off-road orientated. But very nice bike, happy with it, good for long trips for me. So it's kind of like having, you know, sneakers and winter boots for winter. Every bike, you know, kind of has its own purpose and place, and there is no real unicorn bike that I've ever found. The closest I found was that DRZ 400. That's my all-time favorite bike that I've ever had. I'm really happy with that bike, but it also does not, you know, perform in every situation the way you would want a bike to perform. Like, just for example, long, you know, big distance, high-speed cruising is not something that the DRZ does well, the 400. But this bike, with its extra weight, lower center of gravity, it does really well on the highway and long distances. And that's mainly what I use it for. And then, you know, if you see some trails or gravel roads, you have the option just to hit it. And that's what makes dual sports a lot of fun, to explore areas you wouldn't go with the street bike. One other modification I forgot to mention was this rack and this bag. This is a precision rack. I have the same rack on my 400 from the same company, and actually the same bag. So this is a Nelson rig gear. I think it's a dual sport trails enduro bag or something like that. I think it's about 10 or 12 liters, and it expands to almost double its capacity. It goes vertically. You can unzip a zipper, and it just, so if you need to put a little more, like your sweater or something in there that's a little more bulky, you can. So it's good in a pinch. And that's about all the storage I need for a day trip for my water and wallet and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's do a little bit of a road test, and we'll do a little bit of a ride review, and we'll pick it up from there. All right, let's give this thing a little bit of a ride. So one other thing that I actually forgot to mention as far as the carburetor modifications go, there is like when you're doing these modifications, if you choose to, if you have one, and you have that really lean condition, make sure you got some JIS screws, JIS screwdrivers, because this does have the Japanese industrial standard, and those carburetor screws on the top are notoriously tight, really hard to get out. And if you just use a regular screwdriver, American standard, you're going to definitely strip them out. So make sure you use the right screwdriver, and you don't even have to remove the carburetor as modification. You literally just loosen the boots, swivel the carb to one side, drill out that the idle mixture or low speed mixture screw, and then swivel it the other way so you can get at the top and take out the diaphragm and needle and slider. And again, I just shimmed out that needle one, like I found a washer that was perfect. That was, if I remember correctly, it was 17 thousandths of an inch. So that seemed to be absolutely perfect to shim that out. So something to keep in mind if you do that. Everything else, all the pollution control device, like the charcoal canister, the valve, the zinc, everything associated with that, just rip it all out. There's one port on the bottom of the carburetor you're going to need to lock off. I just use like a rubber cap. And then on the tank, there's still one of the vents that went to the charcoal canister. You're gonna have to route that somewhere and keep it vented. So I ended up using one of the existing hoses and just putting it under the seat. So it was just basically sitting there on the seat, fire wrap, just as a vent for the tank. And that's pretty much all you need to do. Definitely worth the modification, because now you got a bike that doesn't lean surge, a bike that doesn't flame out when you're doing low speed, and that pop when you turn off the bike and you get a backfire literally like 10 to 15 seconds after you shut it off, with the indicating a lean condition, or possibly vapor re-entering the system from that charcoal canister, and you shut it off. So we're doing about 100 kilometers per hour right now. I guess, as with my other review, I did mention that all these Japanese bikes seem to be calibrated so that the speedometer actually shows 5 kilometers per hour faster than actual speed. So if I'm indicating 100, I'm probably doing 95 actual speed. But yeah, we're in 5th right now, going 100. It's a happy place on this bike to be. The engine's super happy, it's not stressed at all. And this would be kind of the minimum speed. Oh, this guy's got a flat tire. Or actually, it looks like a broken strut. But even at 100, I can shift down into 4th here. So that's 4th. Yeah, it's a little bit higher BM. Maybe I was in 4th. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was in 4th there. So yeah, so doing 100 here in 5th is kind of at the point of lugging them. This would be 4th gear right here at 100. Feels good, lots of power on top. So that's 4th, 120 shifting. 130, so it definitely pours on the power good. It's got, again, that really satisfying torque at any condition. It just hands over, it gobs of torque, even if you're in the wrong gear. Very nimble bike too, like for its size and its weight down low. I mean, we're doing 90 and I have no problem going around this bike. Again, I think it's that dirt bike geometry. That front end really likes to turn in on pretty much all dirt bikes, and it's got a similar rake and setup to those. But let's see, this is a nice spot to maybe get on it a little because there's literally nobody here. It's really windy here, so I hope the audio is good, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, this is first gear. You don't even have to rev it out. So, got a lot of power. I mean, I don't really need any more power than that. I've never found myself in a situation where I didn't have enough passing power. It's got a good amount of grunt to it. It's got a nice pull, very linear with the torque delivery. And it all comes on really low. So even, like I said, even off-road, if you're in the wrong gear and you know, you're in too high of a gear and it lugs, it'll just happily tractor through anything you throw at it. So that's a fun aspect of this bike. Runs really good. I'm not sure why everybody's so afraid of carburetors. You know, if you just do the absolute bare minimum maintenance, like in the winter, drain the carburetor, there's a screw to drain the bowl. It even has a hose fitting, so you can hook up a small, you know, I don't know what the size of the hose is, but you can hook up a hose and just drain the carburetor in the winter. Come spring, you'll have absolutely no issues. Or if you're too lazy to do that, just start it up every month or so just to give it a little bit of a run and get some fresh fuel in that carburetor. I've never really had issues with carburetors because I always take that 3-minute extra step before storage to drain the carburetor, and never really had a problem. But yeah, that's a little bit of a ride review. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to jump in on the comments, and I'll try my best to answer any questions you have. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. See ya.